We live in an age that worships comfort and calls it peace. Every screen tells you to relax. Every voice tells you to express. Every philosophy tells you to forgive endlessly, even when forgiveness destroys your edge. Men have been taught to dull their instincts in the name of fitting in. But comfort has a hidden cost. It doesn't just soften the body. It weakens the mind. Strength was once built through struggle. You learned respect by enduring hardship. Now we've replaced challenge with convenience. We've mistaken comfort for safety and emotion for truth. The result? A generation of men who are intelligent but fragile, connected but hollow, expressive but lost. They can describe every feeling but can't control a single one. They want meaning, but they're allergic to discomfort. And that is where all meaning hides. Softness masquerades as kindness. It tells you that harshness is cruelty, that confrontation is toxic, that discipline is outdated. But beneath that illusion, softness hides fear. The fear of rejection, the fear of standing alone, the fear of being disliked. The world tells you to be gentle, not because it wants peace, but because it wants control. A man who is afraid to offend is a man who can be easily managed. That's the truth no one admits. The weak cling to emotions as justification. They confuse openness with strength, reaction with authenticity. They think expressing every thought makes them honest. But real honesty is not in expression, it's in control. The man who can feel deeply and still act strategically is rare. He doesn't broadcast his pain. He channels it into precision. He doesn't complain about his circumstances. He learns to dominate them silently. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. Civilization needs order, and order is built by those who can withstand discomfort. The strong stay silent, while the soft argue. The strong keep moving, while the weak seek sympathy. Every era collapses when its men start choosing comfort over confrontation, when they start confusing survival with softness. And this era is no exception. So ask yourself, when everything around you rewards ease, how do you stay sharp? The answer lies in the fire that softness tries to extinguish. You don't fight it by becoming cruel. You fight it by becoming disciplined. You learn to endure what others escape. You learn to be still when others panic. You stop begging to be understood and start building the strength to be unshaken. The truth is simple. You cannot be mentally unbreakable while addicted to comfort, because comfort doesn't protect you. It prepares you for collapse, a harsh truth that most men never learn. Being good is not the same as being respected. You can be kind, honest, loyal, and still be invisible. People don't respect the harmless. They use them. The world doesn't care about your intentions, only your influence. The man who cannot defend himself, who cannot enforce consequence, becomes background noise in every room he enters. His kindness feels safe, not admirable. He doesn't inspire loyalty, he inspires convenience. Being harmless is often mistaken for morality. It's not. It's indecision disguised as virtue. The harmless man thinks his gentleness makes him noble, but it only makes him predictable. No one fears losing him. No one measures their words around him. He's easy to approach, easy to dismiss, and easy to forget. And when life turns cruel, as it always does, the harmless man becomes the first to be sacrificed for the comfort of others. Strength commands attention before it speaks. It's not about violence or intimidation. It's about boundaries. The man who can be dangerous but chooses restraint earns respect, because restraint without power means nothing. Control is only impressive when it's voluntary. When people sense that you are capable of damage, but disciplined enough not to use it, they begin to move carefully around you. That's the essence of respect. Not fear of pain, but recognition of potential. Machiavelli understood that fear and respect are built on consequence. If your kindness carries no consequence, it's charity, not leadership. The world values what it can lose. When you make yourself irreplaceable, when your absence costs something, your presence starts to mean something. You can't be respected for what costs others nothing. Harmless men try to build peace through compliance. Strong men build peace through deterrence. The difference is simple. One begs not to be attacked. The other makes attack unwise. Harmlessness seeks safety. Power creates it. When you rely on others' goodwill, your stability depends on their mood. But when you rely on your own capability, you control every outcome. The world stops testing the man who can defend himself. The goal is not to become cruel. It's to become capable, to sharpen your mind, your discipline, your presence, until your silence carries warning. Kindness, when backed by strength, is power. Kindness without strength is performance. So stop chasing approval for being harmless. Start becoming dangerous enough to choose peace. Because peace without power isn't peace at all. It's permission granted by those who have it. The strongest man in any room is never the loudest. It's the one who feels everything and shows nothing. Emotion is energy. Whoever controls it controls the outcome. Most men think expressing emotion is power. It's not. It's exposure. Every visible reaction gives the world data about you. Your limits, your fears, your insecurities. Control doesn't mean you feel less. It means no one else decides when you show it. Emotion is the easiest way to be manipulated. The moment someone can trigger anger, pride, or guilt in you, they own you. They can pull those strings to make you act against your own interest. That's why emotional discipline is the highest form of strength. Not the ability to fight, but the ability to stay still when provoked. People expect reactions. Silence confuses them. They don't know how to deal with calm. Calm is unpredictable. Calm is dangerous. Most men mistake emotional control for suppression. Suppression is denial. Control is transformation. You don't bury emotion, you refine it. Anger becomes focus. Fear becomes alertness. Pain becomes patience. You learn to direct emotion like a blade, not wave it around like a torch. The weak burn everything with their feelings. The strong use them as fuel. Emotional mastery isn't the absence of fire. It's learning to make it burn only where you choose. Machiavelli understood that the man who cannot rule himself will never rule anything. Control isn't glamorous. It's exhausting. It means holding your composure when your ego screams for revenge. It means keeping your voice level when you're disrespected. It means walking away when you want to prove a point. The world will call it coldness. It's not. It's calculation. It's refusing to hand your enemies the reaction they want. People will test your emotions to measure your strength. They'll provoke you, ignore you, question you, hoping to pull you out of character. When you stay calm, they lose control. The more they push, the more your silence feels like dominance. They begin to talk faster, defend harder, justify louder, revealing everything you need to know. Every reaction you withhold increases your control. Every silence you maintain becomes a statement. You cannot move me. Emotion feels powerful in the moment. Control is powerful forever. The man who reacts is ruled by everyone. The man who decides when to react rules himself. And everyone else follows. Because control isn't the absence of emotion. It's the art of owning it so completely that no one else ever can. Most men avoid being alone because silence exposes the truth. When the noise fades, there's nowhere left to hide. No validation, no distraction, no audience to applaud the mask. What remains is you. And that's why most people keep running from quiet. But isolation isn't punishment. It's the forge. Everything powerful is refined in solitude. Iron, thought, discipline. When you step away from the crowd, you stop performing. You begin to notice how much of your identity was built from imitation. Opinions copied from friends, habits borrowed from trends, values repeated from noise. Solitude strips all that away. At first it feels like death. Then it feels like discovery. You meet the real version of yourself, the one who doesn't need approval to exist. The world teaches connection as safety. It's not. Constant connection dulls instinct. It breeds comparison, envy, exhaustion. When you're always surrounded, you absorb other people's emotions until you forget which ones are yours. Distance resets the system. It gives you space to think clearly, to rebuild purpose from your own logic instead of borrowed emotion. Isolation doesn't mean disappearance. It means observation. You begin to watch instead of react. You start recognizing patterns others are too distracted to see. Who lies when they smile? Who breaks when challenged? Who talks to be heard instead of to mean something? When you return from solitude, you move differently, slower, quieter, sharper. People notice the shift even if they can't explain it. You no longer need to chase presence. Your absence starts doing the talking for you. But isolation comes with pain. There will be nights when you feel detached from everything, when silence feels heavier than steel. That's the test. The weak will run back to noise for comfort. The strong will sit with the discomfort until it bends. You learn to be your own company, your own motivation, your own direction. And once you can function alone, you become impossible to manipulate. Because nothing threatens the man who no longer fears being alone. Authority isn't built through dominance. It's built through independence. When you can detach from the need to belong, you start to attract people who actually respect you. They don't approach to fix you. They approach to follow you. Your solitude stops being isolation. It becomes gravity. You become the quiet center of your own world. Because isolation doesn't break you. It breaks everything that isn't truly you. Power never announces itself. The moment you talk about what you're going to do, you hand control to the world. Words expose direction. Silence hides momentum. The strong build quietly, act precisely, and let results echo long after the noise fades. The loud demand recognition before they've earned it. The disciplined earn recognition by never needing it. Silence is strategy. It's not the absence of movement. It's movement disguised. Every empire that lasted was built in quiet stages while the crowd was distracted by spectacle. When you speak too soon, you invite resistance. When you act first and talk later, you dictate the story before anyone else can write it. The wise understand this. The less they know about your plans, the less they can interfere. Most men sabotage themselves through exposure. They post every goal, every idea, every minor victory, hoping for encouragement, feeding the hunger for validation. But attention is poison to strategy. The moment your ambition becomes public, it becomes prey. People doubt it, mock it, copy it, or work to dismantle it. Silence keeps your intentions pure, free from the fingerprints of other people's opinions. The quiet man isn't mysterious for the sake of ego. He's protective. He understands that every plan has a gestation period. Ideas grow stronger in darkness, just like roots beneath the surface. When he finally moves, it's not impulsive, it's inevitable, and that inevitability feels like power because no one saw it forming. Silence also protects energy. Words scatter focus. Secrecy condenses it. Talking burns momentum that should be spent on execution. When you withhold your plans, you create tension. And tension creates curiosity. People start to wonder what you're building, why you're calm, what you're hiding. Curiosity turns into speculation. Speculation turns into reputation. You've done nothing, and yet you've already established power. But silence without discipline is paranoia. The goal isn't to vanish, it's to move intentionally. You appear only when the move is complete, when the outcome can't be undone. Each reveal should feel final, like a blade drawn only once. The man who masters timing understands that surprise multiplies strength. Power doesn't need witnesses, it only needs results. The man who speaks less is underestimated, and that's his advantage. When they think you're still, you're actually positioning. When they think you've stopped, you're already 2 steps ahead. Because real influence doesn't arrive with noise. It arrives with certainty. And by the time they notice, it's already too late to stop it. Power destroys more men through pride than through failure. When strength begins to work, when people start to listen, when silence finally turns into authority, that's when the real danger begins. Pride creeps in quietly. It tells you that you've outgrown discipline. It whispers that you're above correction. And the moment you believe it, mastery dies. Pride feels like confidence, but it's decay disguised as greatness. It feeds on praise, on recognition, on the illusion of control. The proud man stops observing because he thinks he already knows. He stops improving because he believes he's already perfect. And that's how power collapses, not through attack, but through blindness. The same confidence that built the empire becomes the arrogance that ruins it. The strong man must remain a student, even at his peak. True mastery is not dominance, it's awareness. The more you learn, the more you realize how little control truly exists. The proud man resists this truth. The wise man uses it. Pride needs validation. Mastery needs silence. Pride demands attention. Mastery demands precision. Every time you feel the urge to prove your superiority, remember, you're not fighting others anymore. You're fighting complacency. Pride also isolates. It poisons communication, turns respect into fear, and allies into enemies. People stop telling you the truth because you've made yourself unapproachable. You start believing your own echo, a voice that always agrees, never challenges. That's not strength, that's delusion. The man who cannot be questioned cannot improve, and the man who cannot improve is already falling. The disciplined man stays humble, not because he doubts himself, but because he understands balance. Power without humility becomes fragile. Authority without reflection becomes arrogance. The truly strong don't need to prove their greatness. They preserve it through restraint. They listen more than they speak. They act more than they announce. They know that pride demands constant performance, while mastery remains silent and unshaken. Machiavelli understood that pride is predictable. A proud man can always be baited. With flattery, with challenge, with insult, the humble man cannot. He sees every attempt at provocation as a test of patience, not a threat to ego. Pride reacts, humility observes. That difference decides who remains in control when power begins to rot. Remember, the world doesn't break the proud. It waits for them to destroy themselves. The fall always begins in the mind. long before it reaches the throne. So stay sharp, stay grounded, stay teachable, because the moment you believe you've mastered everything, you've already started losing it. Strength impresses people, endurance terrifies them. Anyone can be strong for a moment, under the right light, with enough adrenaline when everyone is watching. But endurance isn't performance. It's pain made permanent. It's consistency when there's no recognition, no reward, no applause. It's waking up when nothing changes and still refusing to stop. That's what breaks most men, not failure. Repetition. Pain tests everyone. The weak want it to end. The strong want to understand it. The unbreakable, they learn to use it. Endurance is not a gift. It's built through the long humiliation of persistence. It's doing what you said you'd do long after excitement has died. It's watching others quit, one by one, while you stay. The longer you hold the line, the quieter the world gets, until there's no competition left. Only you. Time is the ultimate opponent. It doesn't strike fast. It erodes slowly. It eats at patience, confidence, and will. Most crumble under the boredom of discipline. They want progress to feel dramatic, visible, cinematic. But progress is invisible most of the time. Silent, repetitive, lonely. The man who accepts this truth becomes unstoppable, because he no longer needs motivation to move. He moves because stopping feels unnatural. Endurance also teaches detachment. You start to understand that emotion can't be trusted. It fluctuates too fast. You stop relying on how you feel and start relying on what you've built. You replace inspiration with routine, excitement with precision. Every repetition becomes a brick in a wall no one else sees. Until one day, it's towering. By then it's too late for those who doubted you to catch up. Machiavelli would call endurance the truest form of strategy. The man who can outlast everyone doesn't need to outfight them. Time becomes his ally. Exhaustion becomes his weapon. He lets the impatient destroy themselves, chasing quick results, while he builds something too heavy to move. Endurance turns patience into pressure. Silent, constant, merciless. But endurance demands something brutal. Solitude, repetition, and faith in your own process. It's not glamorous. It's not even satisfying most days. But it's the slow creation of inevitability. The unbreakable man isn't the one who never falls. He's the one who keeps standing long enough that falling loses meaning. You don't need to be the fastest, the strongest, or the most talented. You only need to last longer than everyone who quits. That's how you win wars without ever firing a shot. Because in the end, endurance isn't just strength. It's survival refined into dominance. The final stage of strength is not control over others. It's control over yourself. Detachment isn't indifference. It's independence. It's the moment when the world stops having power over your emotions, your choices, your peace. The unbreakable man doesn't win because he's fearless. He wins because there's nothing left to threaten. When nothing outside of you dictates your stability, you become something the world can't manipulate. Most men stay trapped in cycles of reaction. They're driven by approval, validation, revenge, or recognition. Their emotions are chains disguised as motivation. Every insult provokes them. Every setback distracts them. Every compliment seduces them. They are puppets pulled by invisible strings. Predictable, readable, controllable. The strong man cuts those strings one by one. He learns that needing less makes him more. The less he demands from others, the freer he becomes. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. You stop chasing understanding from people who will never give it. You stop explaining your silence to those who fear it. You stop arguing for truth in rooms that worship noise. Detachment is self-respect in its final form. The realization that your peace is worth more than their attention. You no longer enter every battle just because you can win. You choose which wars deserve your energy, and most don't. True detachment is power without effort. It's walking away while they're still speaking. It's smiling at provocation because it no longer lands. It's silence that doesn't hide weakness, but disinterest. The detached man becomes terrifying because he cannot be baited. He no longer fights for dominance. He is dominance. People sense it. They feel the difference between absence and authority. He doesn't impose control, he embodies it. This kind of peace doesn't come cheap. You'll lose things, friends, illusions, identities. You'll outgrow the need to be right, the need to be seen, the need to be remembered. But in that emptiness you find something priceless. Clarity. When you no longer depend on the world for validation, you start to see it for what it really is. Temporary, noisy, irrelevant. And in that realization, all fear dies quietly. Machiavelli wrote that fortune favors those who depend on nothing but themselves. Detachment is that principle embodied. When your emotions, desires, and reputation no longer own you, no one can use them against you. You become untouchable, not because you've conquered the world, but because you've stopped needing it. The weak stay kind because they fear disapproval. The strong stay feared because they fear nothing. And the unbreakable stand alone, calm, disciplined, detached, untouched by praise, untouched by hate. Because once you no longer need to prove power, you are power.